He did the first ever double backflip on a motorbike. He also record for the longest rally car jump. He's a 4-time American rally champion. He's Nitro Rallycross founder and champion, world powerboat champion. He's jumped out of an airplane with no parachute, and he's broken more bones than everyone else I know combined. And he's got so many stats, this could probably take up half the episode. But let me introduce the man, the myth, the legend, Travis Pastrana. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on, boys. Really appreciate it.
We've been through a few things together, haven't we? Well, you have damaged us for life, taking us over gap jumps, just getting a taste of your world. It's an honor to have you on the podcast.
Physically and emotionally damaged, but thank you. No, seriously, thank you guys for coming over and believing in that, especially I know Timmy the first year. Well, you guys won back-to-back first and second ever events that we had. So thank you for not letting an American win for forever. Yep. But
we had to let you work for it a little bit. But
yeah, but the gap jump though, just you doing the gap jump, Timmy, like legitimized, like it's like, I think between you and Matthias Ekstrom coming over, like that was, without that, we would have never been anything.
I did not want to do it, and Matthias wanted to do it even less. But do you remember the speech? Do you remember the speech that you gave to everyone before we actually started racing? I certainly remember it. I will never forget it. Should I say?
Go for it.
Yeah. So, we did some practice, and some people tried the jump, myself included, when I damaged the car pretty heavily. And we all had this discussion about, no, it's too dangerous and let's not do it and it's safety. So Travis brings all the drivers only into your motorhome. You sit down and you give this American film kind of speech where and the punchline being that, guys, let's do this jump, let's do this race, and let's be able to tell our grandkids that we raced when men were men. I don't know. It was like the music was playing in the background, but it wasn't.
In my mind, it was.
Yeah, in my mind too.
Everyone was like, "All right, let's go." So I was like, "Yes."
So out of that motorhome, and everyone being like fully pumped, like, "Let's do that jump. Let's do the jump."
I was like, "I know this can work." The jumps. So it's funny until probably round 2 or whatever or when we had the series, like Scott Speed was so against the jumps. He's like, these are stupid, because usually you put the jump in the middle of the straightaway. Anyone that has a run, it messes up the passing opportunity. And we had this track in Minnesota, and it had a left turn, a jump, and a right turn. And depending on how far you jumped, it was how well you could set up the next corner, and how fast you came out of the corner before was what line you could. So I made almost 1.5 seconds. It was 1.3 seconds. I was faster than Scott Speed from the left to the jump to the right. And ever since that moment, Scott was like, oh, like jumps can actually be an obstacle that makes sense. And it clicked in his head, and he's been I wouldn't say he's a fan, but after he broke his back on the tabletop, he's like, these are stupid.
Yeah, well, they are dangerous, but that's also why they're legendary. Like showing up and coming into the paddock for that first ever Nitro World Games event. And then you see that like massive jump. Like when you stand there in person and you get that impression, I cannot imagine how you thought that this is a reasonable size.
Yeah. Well, honestly, the sizing of the jump is pretty funny, because at about 70 to 75 miles an hour, aero affects vehicles. So the first year, when it wasn't all the same vehicles, the Subarus flew very front end down, because how the aero was set up, they needed more weight on the front end. Aero wise, and the Volkswagens were front end super high. So after about 70, 75 miles an hour, aero is exponentially magnified. So at 80 miles an hour, the Subarus would have done a front flip, and the Audi or the Volkswagens would have done pretty much a backflip. That was better when you had the Group E, when all the cars were aero. Well, there wasn't like a lot of aero.
No,
it was just power, and they were all kind of the same boxes. But yeah, and also motorcycles, stock gearing goes about 75 miles an hour. So if I can get a jump that's approximately 100 to 140 feet in your sweet spot, I can just hit it as fast as the motorcycle will go at 10 degrees angle, and I can borrow a bike off any showroom floor. So that's where the jump distances come from.
Sounds a physician, don't you say? You have to calculate everything perfectly as well. It's not only just being, you know, getting off there and riding, taking, you know, shaking the wind. It's really, you have to know your stuff to build, you know, incredible features.
Well, everyone thinks also the bigger the jump, they think the more dangerous it is. But the taller the jump, the longer the landing can be at the angle that you need it to land softly.
Yeah.
So if you have more dirt, you can build the jump huge. And even if you miss it just builds you a bigger margin.
It's
You know, so
exactly
it's
what you said.
interesting.
Like you mentioned Scott breaking his back there. Like I think a lot of people misremember it from being the big jump that he broke his back on, but it was actually the slowest jump, that jump coming out of the last turn.
Yeah.
So
And that's exactly
in
what you said now.
the team managers, so I had that jump being longer, right? By about 20 feet. And the team managers came out and said, this jump's too long. Like if they come up short, we're going to be breaking suspension.
Mm.
So it has to be, you have to shorten it up. So I was trying to build the track the first year, like, even though it looks more dangerous when you have something bigger, you know, like I put chicanes before some of the jumps or tabletops. This last year we had 2 years ago, we had a jump before the jump and everyone, they lost it before the race. They were like, what, like, why on earth? I said, because the first jump gives you a time that you can't possibly land that jump where you need to and overshoot the next one by enough to, you could probably still go long, but you're not going to break your back long. You know,
Yeah.
so I had the jumps set up before it to regulate speed or the chicanes, but it looks super scary.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
the
There's a reason.
scary part of driving it is going long. At least that was for me. Like, of course, the first impression is that if you go short and hit that wall, that's bad. So, of course, you want to go a bit faster, but then that's what gets scary. And that's how I crashed in Las Vegas when I came to do that test race. I didn't want to go up short, so I brought a bit extra speed, landed wide, and suddenly that concrete wall was very, very close, and I had a lot of speed.
I had
Straight
nothing
into
to
it.
do with Vegas design. I got there, I was like, oh, this is going to be, we're going to destroy so many cars. And it wasn't really on the jumps, it was just, I
Mm.
learned a lot about track design and that race car drivers don't usually have motocross riders backgrounds. And with a motorcycle, you can bump into someone really hard and it's you that gets hurt, not the vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tried to make the high lows, like Timmy, we had a race and that's how I envisioned this working, where the outside was steep and the inside, you know, like off cameras inside, steep outsides. But with the car drivers, you really couldn't come that high low, the outside inside, because people just ran into each other. They weren't like
Mm.
setting it up
Yeah.
like dirt bike riders kind of do. And you got to have that respect for the other person, which I really appreciate. You know, when you guys came over, you were actually listening to your spotters. You knew if there was someone on the inside. 'Cause I over jumped a jump and I was coming to make an inside pass on Kevin, or not pass, but it was way too aggressive. And I realized there was no way I was stopping. So I pinned it wide open. I'm like, if his spotter doesn't tell him I'm coming on the inside, like we're going to have it's going to look like I just crucified him. And you checked up. I
Yeah.
went flying by and you caught on the inside. I hit the
Yeah.
outside berm and I'm like, okay, it looked cool. And I was like, oh, that's great racing. I'm like, no, the only reason that wasn't me being a complete, sorry for my language, was because you guys have the racecraft and the spotters and the understanding of what's going on, that you can race how these tracks were designed to be raced. But when
Mm.
you go out there at times, when everyone's just taking the best line, they're like, oh no, well, this is my right of way. So that's when you have NASCAR has a different set of rules, then F1 has a different set of rules. Then rally, you don't have to, like Chris Meek. Chris is actually at the house right now, which is cool. But like
Very
Chris,
cool.
Nice.
he was like the fastest one at every first lap of practice, and all the other race car drivers would get up to his speed. You know, the guys that were getting better every lap. But when it came down to the race, he just didn't have, he has motocross background, but he wasn't used to where he has to position his car. So it
Mm.
was, you know, and then I took him out the first one. That was totally on me, but you know, for the most part.
Yeah,
Happens,
but I
doesn't
think
it?
the only one who could really maximize all those lines, because it was kind of a motocross track built for cars, right? At least that's how I felt it. Like you were the only one who were creative enough to actually go for that outside line way out. Like in that race that you mentioned, you and I had in Salt Lake, you overtook me. You were behind. You went high on the banking, and then you came out ahead of me. Like for me, that was like undoable. Like I've got this line, I'm on the inside, I'm safe, and suddenly, boom, you're there. And then we end
But
up having.
you were already thinking of the next corner. You have to think of how this is going to make the next corner. Like Scott Speed and Kevin Erickson, they just went for each other. And
Yeah.
they just, when you have bad blood, you can, but if you think about it, you're like, okay, he can pass me here. And as long as I can get back to this spot and I can get to this spot. So that's when the corners, and, it was super dusty. We had a lot of issues with all the tracks. They weren't perfect by any means, but I like that, Timmy, you knew that you were faster than I was. You knew that you could do a better lap. So it gave you that little bit, in my mind anyway, it gave you that little bit of confidence to go, okay, I'm going to let this pass clear because I know I can make a move here. I know I have another chance. And it allowed, instead of thinking, like a lot of times, if I have the lead, I'm like, well, if he gets by here, I don't know that I can reel that person back in, or that I'll ever be in a position. So you block their line. It slows you both down, and that's always frustrating, especially when you're not battling for the lead. When you're like, dude, you're slowing us both, or whoever's, battling, you're like, let's work together and try to, whatever it is. But that was really cool because every time I passed you, I would have to move you just a few feet, and try not to do it with the car, and you would pass me clean, and I'd move you a few feet and you'd pass me clean.
No,
and then I got this. Then you had a flat tire. So
yeah, that race was like, it's probably the best lap of racing I've had in my life. Like, I will never forget it. And then of course I did get the puncture, and you didn't really know that. I had a front left puncture. So going through the tunnel in the last lap, I slowed down so much to try and not let you pass. And it's kind of dark there, so you hit me, and I ended up in the wall. So then after, I remember, like, I came running towards you after the race when you were doing an interview, and you step back like this because you thought I was going to punch
Timmy
you.
has a history of punching people, so I do understand, you being a bit afraid in that moment.
Yeah.
No, but you thought I was going to punch you, and actually I was just like running up to hug you, because that race was, it's more than just winning or losing. That race was, for me, it was fantastic.
I mean,
but what was...
TP, you're an unbelievable rallycross driver. I mean, coming from not racing cars like through your whole life, which we'll get you in a second, I think you can put the hand on your heart to say yourself, I am a great rallycross driver, which is just something that is like, Ken, he did it too, he was great at it, and Seb Lowe, but like, to come up there and win a championship, it's really, really incredible what you did back then in 2021 against, both of us, but also, Scott Speed and Steve Arpin and both Ericsson brothers, like some of the best racers in the world. I think we should also just touch on, which is, we always speak about the next race, the next gap jump and stuff like that, but I also I think all the viewers and listeners as well, they really want to know, like, you started racing really young. When did you start to love the sensation of a bit of fear and risk and going racing?
So, I mean, I had my dad, kind of like you guys, I'm sure you guys grew up in a racing family. I grew up in a construction family, so they could build anything. And my dad welded a 5 horsepower Briggs and Stratton to just a metal frame that he had put together with his brothers, and put a little cushion for a seat and got a little steering wheel. Like nothing was bought. It was all like welded together of just these whatever pieces. And so I had a little seat belt, little lap belt, and I rolled it. So then they put a roll cage over the top, just one metal kind of thing over from the front to the back, just so if it fell over, I wouldn't, it didn't work right. But yeah, so I mean, that was my whole life was just anything with wheels, anything with fun. And that was, so cars, even though we didn't have the funds to really afford car racing, we didn't really have the funds to afford motorcycles, to be honest, but that was more in our wheelhouse of what we could do.
So was that why you went into motocross initially, because that was more affordable at the time, and then later on when you were successful at that, go into car racing? Or
so, to be honest, like, my parents didn't ever assume that I'd get anywhere in motorsport or sport. My uncle was quarterback for Denver Broncos, maybe the best athlete that's ever come out of our town. And after 2 years and a bunch of concussions, he ended up teaching health classes, teaching lacrosse and football at a local community college, and working with the rest of my dad's family in construction, just small family construction company, driveways, like snow plowing in the winter, that kind of stuff. And you know, he was one of the greatest athletes that ever came out of maybe Maryland, and he still didn't make enough money to not have to do a job till, you know, till the day he died, pretty much.
Yeah.
So my parents said, look, if you love what you do, wake up every morning with a smile, ride that train till the wheels fall off. And we don't care what it is. As long as you're, you know, you get good grades, you do, you know, you work hard. Hey, we'll support you with all we can. And my uncles would all take pay cuts to like pay for gas to get us to the tracks. And, you know, it was cool. It was a good family. Like everyone supported me
Fantastic.
and the racing as families kind of have to do in these sports, you know, or somebody.
Yeah.
It doesn't have
Incredible.
to be family, but it's hard to make it in racing without a lot of seat time, without a lot of time on the dirt bike, on the bicycle, traveling to race against the best riders and drivers. And that's what it really comes down to. It's seeing that somebody's better and having a chance to get there. Not to keep talking on this, but we had a local motorcycle organization called MAMA, Middle Atlantic Motocross Association, 18 under riders only. At 7 years old, I was 22nd in the nation. And I was
Wow.
8th in my hometown track. So we had almost half of the top 20 riders were from
Incredible.
my town in
Oh,
Maryland, which
wow.
was, we just pushed each other.
Yeah, well, that shows you what competition does, doesn't it? Like you were
Yeah.
just out there every day then, like racing with your buddies, and everyone, all of your buddies was super fast. And then you ended up becoming the youngest champion in motorcycle AMA. How old were you then when you were champion?
Yeah, so I won so you can't turn pro in America until you're 16 years old. So I turned pro. I won the outdoor national championship. And then the next year, James Stewart, or 2 years later, James Stewart turned pro, and his birthday was a month later than my birthday. So James Stewart is now the youngest person. But
Ah.
there's only 2 riders that have ever won it at 16 years old. So was able to win. I won Daytona Supercross, won the Outdoor National Championship, and got to represent the USA in Motocross of Nations. And we won the Motocross of
My
Nations
God.
all while I was 16. So it was and the X Games. So it was a good year that year.
Yeah, you have so many X Games medals. Where I got it written down somewhere here, like 17. Yeah, 17
Do you guys
medals.
count like medals or just golds? Like
No, that
I
was
don't know.
medals. It says here
I have
11
11. I have
golds.
11 golds.
Yeah,
If
that's
it's second
insane.
or third, I
Majority
don't know.
golds. That's
I don't
a
know
mic
what.
drop. No, that's
Yeah,
epic.
but when did you then like transition from racing to thinking that flying upside down, spinning around? That's cool. How old were you then?
So I had the opportunity. I was trying to race motocross, and I was down at Daytona. I was living in Florida in a trailer park in Florida for the winters, so I could ride with the best. Like Ricky Carmichael was down there, Ernesto Fonseca, Matt Walker, probably all guys that you've maybe heard of or maybe not. But the best amateur riders were in Florida. So in the 6th grade, I started homeschooling. I would basically live down. My mom was a flight attendant, so she would basically try to be there on like 3 days of the week and then work the weekends. My dad would work in the week, and he would, you know, ride his Harley down or fly if she was on a buddy pass down to Florida, you know, when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. And with that, it was pretty funny because I was at a track and all the top racers were training for Daytona. So I got to ride with the Suzuki factory team. I was so excited. And that day,
Sick.
the Krusty Demons of Dirt team came out. Like, I don't know if you've heard of Krusty Demons of Dirt. They were the first moto video. Seth Enslow was there. All the riders that were just known for partying, like not what my parents wanted me to be a part of, but they were at the track with all the racers, which they wanted me to be a part of. And Seth Enslow, he's this dude known for huge jumps. He tries to jump the alligator pitch. There's a couple alligators in this pond, and they built a jump on the sides, and he doesn't make it. The next guy, Anthony Pocaroba, outdoor moto guy, comes up.
Wait, what happened when he didn't make it? Did he fall into the alligators?
No, he came up short and actually crashed onto the land. But he
Oh, thank God.
ruptured. He couldn't breathe. They had to give him a trach and everything. Like it was
Whoa.
pretty bad. So the next guy tried and he broke his wrist. So they're like, no one else wanted to try. So I was 13 years old. Looked over at my dad. I was like, Dad, can I do it? He looked at me. He's like, I don't know. Can you? And I was like, yeah. He's like, all right, go do it. So I went and hit the jump, did it a few times. So they're all filming for this video, and the two guys that they're filming with for the rest of the week were broken. And I started doing heel clickers, and I'm doing, hands off, feet off.
Wow.
And like the whole
Wow.
Suzuki team kind of stops riding. Like Roger DaCosta, everyone's out there watching me jump this gator pond that none of the factory guys would do. And so at that point, they put me on the video, Crush the Eames of Dirt, and it got my start in freestyle because I was crazy. So
And
That's
then you
sick.
ended up completely transforming the freestyle world, right? Like pioneering the kind of jumps that you were able, like any human was able to do, like the double backflip, so iconic. Your clip, like in X Games there, where you run. Who do you run to in the crowd?
oh, yeah, I don't know, probably my mom.
Was your mom?
I
Yeah.
don't-
Before
yeah,
the
she was
jump, isn't
crying.
it? Like you go talk to someone. I don't know. It's a while ago since I've seen it, but it's legendary.
No, well, we weren't sure if I was gonna. I wasn't 100% on the double flip, and I was trying to get him. I'm like, can we have any way to get the landing? The landing was just so hard packed, and I had to crank my jump up like 4 extra feet and much steeper than any other jumps. So I'm basically falling from the top of the stadium onto a flat landing for lack of, and I'm like, if I don't land this perfect, if I land it perfect, it's going to suck. If I don't land it perfect. And at the time, it was the only time that rally was where I wanted to go. I'm like, I want to drive cars. I want to get into rally. Ken Block helped get rally into the X Games. We have Colin McRae. The reason that I even started driving Subarus, the reason that I started rallying, the reason that I was like warshipped all WRC drivers and just wanted, the reason I drive for Alpine Star, like all of this was because I wanted to be a rally driver, but I was forced to ride dirt bikes because that's what I was good at the time. But all I watched was rally, like anything that I could find on it. So I'm leading Colin McRae, or I was 6/10 behind Colin after 50 miles. And the only reason was because it was our cars, which were Group N that didn't have a lot of power. And it was Jemba notes. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Jemba notes.
No,
But
what is that?
they hand you a set of notes at the beginning of the rally, and you never get to recce the course. So McRae gets over, and he's on these completely different system than he's ever used. So I was able to win the first couple stages. I mean, Ken Block was there, Tanner Faust, like there was some drivers, but it took Colin a while to get going. It was only 50 miles. So he overtook me 2 stages from the end, but the last stage was super twisty, which is like, it was like a motocross track. So it was just, so I was able to like kind of stay close. So 0.6 of a second between Colin McRae and I going into the final.
Oh.
And I have now, they take the rally course and they say, okay, we're going to do the rally, the super special stage last. And we're going to divide the time by 3. So I was 2/10 behind Colin McRae as per the time. There's, America rules. So try to make it as close as possible. So I had 2/10 behind Colin McRae. Yeah, 2/10-ish, going in the final stage. And that was after I had to do freestyle motocross and best trick. So all the Subaru teams like, don't do it. And I look up in the stands and Colin McRae's there. I'm like, dude, I have to do it. Like I have to do a double backflip because Colin McRae is watching this. I was so pumped. So I'm sitting third and I'm like, well, that's a medal. But like I said earlier, I'm like, well, who remembers bronze medals? Like, I don't know. Like I know I can do this. So I did the double backflip, landed it, and then went on. Colin rolls it in the last turn, right back to the wheels, right into first. So I win. Colin gets second in rally. And then I won freestyle that year as well. And
what
like that
unbelievable year.
Catapulted. Yeah, it was, you guys probably don't have Sports Center over there, but like it was headlines all the way over. And it got me a start to do what I love to do in rally and legitimized, even though it wasn't, to say you beat Colin McRae is not accurate. Colin came to our note system, came to our cars, came to whatever. But the fact that he was in that race, the Block was in that race, that Faust was in that race, like they were like, oh, this kid, he doesn't suck.
Yeah.
So it's good.
No, they were legends. Like what a story.
Jumping on a few years later, we obviously came over for the first time, or my dad or our dad came over for the first time with Sebastian Loeb to the X Games Rallycross race. And again, that year you were racing with Subaru, but also you're doing the double. You're doing the freestyle motocross best trick and also the Rallycross race. I mean, I was watching him back in Sweden, and what happened? I mean, you tried a trick and you landed on your leg and you broke your leg. I mean, how did that week, go for you from breaking a leg to going into racing cars again?
So I was trying to race NASCAR at the time as well. Not very good at pavement, not good at rear wheel drive. I like when in doubt, throttle out, all wheel drive makes more sense.
Yeah,
But
Agreed.
I flew in. So instead of
100%.
training for my trick that last week, I was pretty dialed on a backflip 360. But I went to race Indianapolis, which was and got a top 10, which I was super stoked
Wow.
with. It was my first like year NASCAR. So I flew in late, like right before freestyle, go out in freestyle, and I just over pulled over adrenaline. I'm not sure, shattered. So I had 40 fractures over 7 bones in my foot. Basically turned my foot to powder, for lack of a better. And I was in the hospital. And I was like, Doc, and this doc was Dr. Chow was awesome. He's the NFL main, was at the time the NFL main guy. And if there was a way to get you back on the field, on the track, like Dr. Chow was like, yes. So I'm like, Doc, all right, what can we do? Surgery? Like, he's like, dude, you can't do anything. You're not going to be walking. He goes, I got you in surgery tomorrow morning. You're not going to be walking. You're not going to be off the couch, off the bed for 2 months. He goes, this is a 6-month injury. And I'm like, okay, so you said everything's broken. He's like, yes, literally, like, just imagine your foot, it's just powder. There's nothing there. I said, so can I hurt it worse? He's like, well, I mean, not really. I'm like, would it hurt if I took 1 extra day before I came into surgery? He's like, no, your foot's not going to fall off in a day. I was like, great. So I hung up and I texted Lance at Vermont Sports Car. I said, I'm going to need a hand throttle. We're good for tomorrow. So I don't know that Doc actually said you were good. He just said I read between the lines.
Can't get worse.
So
Wow.
Gronholm, Tanner Faust, sorry, not to keep talking on this, but Tanner Faust had a flat tire. So Deegan was out front. Tanner was second. Gronholm third. Tanner gets a flat. There was a big pile up on the Joker. So I didn't qualify that well, but went around the pile. David Higgins was in the pile up. I think Atco was in the pile up. Like, there's a bunch of like good drivers. So there I am sitting fourth on the last lap. Deegan's gone, and Tanner's trying to hold up Gronholm. Well, Gronholm goes for a pass. Tanner blocks. I get ahead of Gronholm, and I'm like, shoot, I got Tanner too. And I pitched in the corner, and my throttle was opposite side because it was on the steering wheel. And I got confused, and I didn't hit the gas, and I overshot it and straight into the wall. And I screamed because my foot was duct taped to the side of the car. So like on all the pads just to hold it so it didn't. And I smashed the wall at like 40 miles an hour, and on live TV,
I remember that.
bawling, crying. Everyone's like, oh, you're so sad you lost. I'm like, no, I'm a sissy.
I watched everything the next day, obviously on YouTube, watching it back because obviously we were following, trying to see how Seb did and everything. And I just remember, and I watched it so many times when I was a kid after that, because obviously I just wanted to. My dream was always to be like, I want to be a rebel athlete racing in America. It's like that was my big dream for a while, and I was just kept watching this race where Seb was leading. It's like he had the car, the race that I was dreaming of in the stage, leading X Games, and then you were there racing. I was like, it's incredible. And then so many times did I see you run into the wall and just hold your leg and just vibrate and scream. It's like I have a picture memory, so that like I can just picture it right now and seeing your pain. And it was so gutting because you were doing so well, like you said. But how after that, how was your recovery? Was it 6 months or?
So they put just like wire all through my foot. So my doctor's funny. He's more of a hand doctor. And he's like, well, I'll do this one. I'm like, shouldn't I have a foot doctor? He goes, look, and this is something that's actually pretty good to know. He said, think about this. Your top doctors, the really, really smart ones, they're going into neurosurgery. They're going into, if they're orthopedics, their hands, because you need your hands. He goes, the C and D doctors are going to be your foot specialists. I was like, Doc, go ahead. It's all you. So he took like literally like 9 hours to get that foot. He's like, okay, I'm going to need you to stay in bed. Lindsay was not stoked on this, but he goes, you need to stay in bed for a month, because even if you get up and the blood flows to the and it swells like you could push your foot out of place. He goes, I'm just trying to line up everything the best that I can. So my whole foot's like club foot right now. Like, you know how your hand, everything kind of moves. It's
Yeah.
one solid block of fused bone, really. But yeah, so I laid in bed, not able to go to the bathroom really for about 3 weeks, or, you know, to get up to do it. So then, yeah, in about 2 months, I was able to start putting a little weight on it, and yeah, we're good to go.
Wow.
Wow.
Incredible. How key has your wife been through your career like this? Like you are one of a kind. Like you're truly iconic in everything you do, and also like to just not say like how incredible you are performing wise, an unbelievably humble and nice person. How is it having
Well,
your wife
geez,
alongside you on this trip? How has she been, you know, supporting you in, you know, not fully in the background, obviously being out there doing stuff for herself as well, but how you traveled through this life together, through, you know, where you were, through kids and everything.
well, I mean, you guys are there now. I think the coolest part about Lindsay is that she was, you know, a 2-time world champion, 3-time X Games gold medalist, and thank goodness someone grew up in the family. Like, she always wanted to be a mom,
Mm,
and Lindsay has been so great because she's never held me back from my passion, because she has that passion. She knew what that was like. Um, and now, like, I mean, heck, when we had Addie, our first kid, 3 months later, she was on tour. You know, we were with Addie on tour in Europe in tour buses. She's skating, you know, so she was always extremely resilient and always the first one to say, why can't we do this? Like, because most moms, oh, I had a kid, I have this. It's like, no, I want to show them the passion. And, you know, having kids on tour growing up, everyone's like, wow, that doesn't seem like, you know, the only adjective that most Nitro Circus athletes know are 4-letter words. And yet our kids didn't cuss. Like, I still haven't heard my oldest daughter, you know, swear, unless it's, you know, something for a video or something that she's actually like, she's like, and she still asks permission. Like, I've never heard her, even though that's, you know, so it's like, but that aside, the coolest part is growing up on tour where you have these passionate athletes where, you know, at 2 o'clock in the morning, if your kids are up because they're crying, there's someone up at 2 o'clock in the morning, or one of the wags, the wives and
mm,
girlfriends are up. There's like these buses. And then at 6 a.m., there's someone else up because they're the ones that are getting up and working out. And they have this wide variety of what they're kind of learning, and the energy and the positivity. And no matter what they look like or what they do, if you're the top athlete, it takes a lot of work, and they see the hard work and the sacrifice and the pain. But back to Lindsay. So Olympics went into the 2020 for skating, 2020 skateboarding. And in 2019, I was like, Lindsay, like, do you want to be an Olympian? I'm like, you know, and she was vert, but she has a silver medal in park, and now the park
sick.
courses are bigger. I'm like, I don't know. Like, that sounds cool. I'm like, I will literally stop everything I'm doing for the next year and a half. I will be the dad of the house. And she went and she won the world championship in 2019. Hadn't won it since I think 2009 was the last time that she won. So it was a 10-year hiatus.
Wow.
And she goes and wins the world championship. And she was over in Spain on the podium, hands up, and she was crying on the podium. She says, not because I was happy, but because I took the last 3 months and I trained so hard and I worked so hard and I was so selfish that I missed the last 3 months of our kids growing up. And she goes, I would rather be a mom, but she goes, I'm not going. It's to be for me, I'd be like, all right, honey, you're on kid duty. Like, I'm going to be an Olympian. Yeah, I'm more selfish. I'm way more selfish. Yeah. But she was like, yeah, I see how happy for me, her talking to me, I see how happy competition makes you. She goes, it doesn't do the same for me that my kids, that our kids do. And to have a wife that is not only a badass, but also an amazing mom and amazingly supportive wife is something that I'm more thankful for that than anything else in my life.
Oh wow, what an incredible story! What an incredible, like, I wouldn't say sacrifice, but like, I don't know, amazing person, Lindsay.
Partnership also, like amazing
Partner.
what you communicate so clearly, like having those open discussions like this. How maybe easy now in hindsight, but I'm sure, you know,
Yeah,
having it in
it's not all perfect, but it's we have a really good relationship.
you go up through and up and down, and you have, you know, maybe some fights here and there, but you know, in the end of the day, when you can look back and you can explain a story like that, I think you have a great partnership and a great life together, because you know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you can open up, you can sacrifice, and that's what you need in this, you know, the sporting world is so tough, because you have to do so many sacrifices. So to have a partner that, I think, I'm also speaking for myself, to have someone to sacrifice things, but you have to do it, you know, together, because it's such a tough world. That is key in our world, I think.
It looks like your kids are growing up, like following you on Instagram and everything, like a very similar kind of childhood that you had. You said your parents were construction workers and you could build anything and you went out playing. It looks exactly the same with your kids now. Like, I guess it's your land behind there, and you've got all these dirt tracks and jumps, and looks like you got friends over all the time, and you just like
So not to be, so let's see, we got, I can you see, so we got the pump track out there, and I'm actually in the she shed. So this is my wife's, this is the half pipe. It's in there for Lindsay.
The she shed.
The she shed. It's a big she shed.
Yeah.
But we got
not the typical one.
No, we have a big trampoline, actually world's largest trampoline, technically, out front. We set the world record on.
No.
Well, it's the same as 2 others, but yes, so world record height, not for the kids, but the kids are probably 35 feet above the ground.
Wow.
But interestingly enough about this, so with kids, right? My oldest, when she gets into a car, she jumped into a Subaru here recently and went to an ice drifting class, and linking drifts at 11 years old, having not really done a lot. Like she did a couple things she wanted to be part of Gymkhana. So at her 7th birthday, we had her jump. Didn't have her. She asked and begged, and I was like, okay, we'll set. So we took the Can-Am, set up a jump, super long landing, made it so when a maximum wide open was the speed that she needed to go. So I'm like, if you can hold your foot to the floor and you can navigate at 50 miles an hour through the woods and hit this ramp, you're good. All you have to do is just hold your foot to the floor. So then Lindsay drove underneath of her and she jumped over at 7. But it's funny because
nice.
My youngest doesn't have that same, I don't know what it is natural. I thought it was nurture over nature, but my youngest has to work for everything. It takes her a little longer to process. My oldest, she did her first double backflip by accident, and she threw in a full twist because she got double bounced by a cheer dad that didn't know what he was doing on the trampoline. Heavy guy accidentally just sent her to the moon, and she was doing a single flip. So she goes up in the air and she's looking and she spins a full 360 and gets the double and lands on her back and bounces up. She's like, oh my gosh, I thought I was gonna land on my head. Where my youngest, in the same situation, she goes blank. You know what I mean? So Lindsay, my wife, when she gets nervous, she gets really angry. So a lot of times you see those parents that like yell at their kids when they crash. I never got it. Not that she does that, but just I've learned so much with kids, and I'm sure you guys have. Like when I get nervous, I'm like my oldest. That's my happy place. Man, time slows down, and I'm like, this is so cool. So ironically, and where this story is going, my oldest has seen how hard everyone works and all the world champions and the Olympians and all the people. And she's seen all the injuries, especially with action sports. And I was like, I'm trying to motivate her. I'm like, come on, you got to get up. Like every morning in the summer, I'm like, we're getting up at 7:30 every morning and we're going to the gym. We're just going to stretch. We're going to do core. She's like, I'm like, don't you want to be like great at volleyball is what she's doing now. And she's like, no, I want to just have fun with my friends and be mediocre. I'm like, but do you want to be just, come on. Like, I know you have it. She's like, why would I want to be hurt and struggle? She's like, you guys work so hard and it just doesn't seem like a lot of fun. So I was like, and my youngest sees that work and she's like, yes, I'm there. I want it all. Like, give me more. Like, what can I do? So it's interesting to see that personality of like my oldest actually watching all these world champions and having the exact opposite effect than I was kind of hoping on her.
It's like, that is not worth it.
And what do you get out of this? oh, I want $1 off my friend. You're an idiot.
But there's one thing that I need to like. Okay, like you've told your story about your career, how you grew up and how you went into dirt bikes and then rallying. But one thing, like why? So when I was in high school, rewind a little bit. The coolest thing that ever happened in high school was there was this dude who had a Red Bull in an airplane and jumped out in his bathing shorts without a parachute. Like, and we were watching this thing on repeat. Now I'm sitting here with you yourself. So, like, how did you think of that? Like, that is crazy.
Have you guys ever been skydiving? Let's start there.
No.
No.
All right. So
Cannot
first time I
dare.
went skydiving, so I turned 18 years old and I got a call from a filmmaker, Greg Godfrey, because we had been joking. We talked with Matt Hoffman, who was a legend BMX guy. And I'm like, dude, the day I turn 18, I'm gonna go base jumping. I'm gonna go skydiving. I can't wait. So I turned 18 and Greg Godfrey already had a ticket for me to come out and a 2-week like crash course, pardon the pun, and to learn how to skydive. And he set up a ramp at the edge of the Grand Canyon for me to jump in. So we did the first like
Wow.
backflip into the Grand Canyon, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
But long story long, at that point, learning how to skydive, I'm like, man, someone can jump out 10 seconds before you. And even me, not knowing what I'm doing, I can tackle them in the air and tackle them actually with a lot more force than you would anticipate. Because you can get, I mean, you can be going 100 miles an hour this way or 100 mile an hour this way. Like you can,
Yeah.
it's wild how fast your closing rates are and you're stopping. And I'm like, man, if we had someone really good, we could actually recreate the point break. You ever seen the movie with Keanu Reeves, Johnny Utah?
Yeah.
Utah, give me
Yeah.
2. So he jumps out of the plane. He had it was a stunt guy, parachute on, but connects the other guy, and they missed your build its. They just held on. So I started talking to people, and I went to Red Bull first. I went to Dietrich, and Dietrich's like, so how good are you at skydiving? And at the time, I'm still not good, obviously, with the last Gymkhana crash, but I was really bad. I just started to skydive. And he talked to some of the Red Bull Air Force, and they were like, yeah, don't let him do this. So Dietrich actually was like, I can't in good conscience like help you do this. So I started talking to all my buddies, and they're like, hey, it's the pilot that gets in the most trouble. So what we did was I went to a US territory, which is still part of the US. So I really messed that part up. Geography was not my forte there. But I went, so still under United States Parachute Association, FAA regulations.
Oh, shoot.
But we got a pilot that was 15 years old that didn't have a pilot's license. And the guy that was going to connect to me was a JTAC in the military. He was a good tunnel rat. He was a really good skydiver, but military, he's like, I don't need a pilot's license to do what I'm doing. Like I'm jumping in. No one knows where I'm landing anyway. So then we had the guy that was kind of holding me stable, Timmy. He'd only had like 10 skydives in his life, but he was one of the best wind tunnel guys.
Okay.
So he's like, sure, I want to go skydiving. So we had like literally 2 kids in a JTAC. And then the only one that didn't
go wrong in this?
the only one that didn't
amount
lose their
of risk.
license was our film guy, was MX. He's just obviously likes motocross. He was like, hell, I'll film it. Let's go. And it was great. It was product testing. You know, does it give you wings? It was more like Buzz Lightyear, falling with style, you know?
Yeah.
But how do you know when there's these type of, I mean, it was risky just to jump with like full of experts and full of security, but I didn't even know it was like the mate over there and this kid, we can get around a loophole, take this buddy in and we'll be fine. How did you manage to you jump without the parachute? Were you not scared of your life?
So the people that we had, even though they were like, let me start over. If you look at Pastranaland, like this area here, there's already, so, you know, it's 7:00 in the morning when we started this. So I got here at 6:30 and my buddies are already out there working on like the mini ramp for the kids. And there's already someone rewelding the foam pit. Cause like I said, Chris Meek's here and we had broke something. So there's this hodgepodge because they all go to work, you know, 8:00, they're all working, but at sun up at like 5:30, like, and not asked, no one's asked, no one's paid. Like I have the best group of eclectic friends of welders and builders and, you know, and still at midnight last night, most of them were still over here, you know, drinking our beer and having fun as well. But
awesome.
you put together the people around you, as you know, with teams, with cars, even from your spotters to your mechanics to whatever. I have been very fortunate to have the best group of people around me that have allowed me to focus on what I'm good at. I'm not sure what that is yet, but they allow me to focus on doing that, and everything else they kind of take care of. And it's just big, kind of weird family. And that's what we got together with the skydive jump was, hey, who can we get that's the best at this? Or who doesn't mind if they lose their license if this goes bad?
Like all of the things you've come up with in such a huge range from what you started with to what you're doing now, Pastranaland looking amazing. Like you're the greatest visionary and just crazy enough to pull everything off. I think it's
Thanks,
very
buddy.
inspiring to have been racing with you. And maybe that's why you always feel so happy when you race. Like that's the most unique thing about yourself. Like every other competitor I ever raced is like, you want to beat each other and you don't talk too much, and like you're all trying to prove that you are the better racer every day over and over. But with yourself, you're just like happy that everyone came along to do Nitro Rallycross, happy that we went out on the tracks, and you were super competitive still. Like you just had a completely different mentality towards racing, which I think is super inspirational. I think more people should learn from what you do, and it's exactly the vision that you get from you being like on TV. It was the same being able to race with you in real life. So just very inspirational.
I got two. Sorry, thanks guys. You're super nice. But there was two things. One, so I was racing NASCAR, and I was almost depressed. I was doing everything that I could, and I'm not that, like, Scott Speed was always like, you got a certain car, you got a certain skill set, you got to come in and get them to help you make that car better. Someone's faster. You can, if you brake at this point and that's as fast as you can make the corner without sliding, then why do you try to brake further? Scott Speed's a computer. In his head, he couldn't figure out. I'm like, because you're braking further, because you're going faster. So obviously I have to do something different. So that's why I always push myself a bit. But I was sliding across the infield of Daytona backwards at like 180 miles an hour. And I'm like, Dad, I can't do it. This sucks. He's like, sucks? He's like, I get up every morning at 5 a.m. to go pour concrete and dig out like mold infested basements. He's like, you're complaining about getting to slide a car at almost 200 miles an hour backwards in front of 100,000 people. He's like,
love the perspective.
You got to put this into perspective here. Yeah. I'm like, all right, touche. But it was that mentality that my parents had coming from, my mom and dad both. My mom was always a little bit more, I think, like moms are, like, my kid's special, they're going to be good, like, work hard, you can make it. My dad was always like, you're never going to make it. But like I said earlier, because his uncle, or his brother, sorry, my uncle, Alan, he's like, look, Alan's biggest regret is that when things didn't go well in the NFL, he had an opportunity to play in the CFL, Canadian Football League. After 2 years as quarterback for Denver, he didn't get picked back up, basically. Concussions, injuries, and he could have kept playing football, but he was so bummed that he wasn't playing the NFL. He went and started working construction again with the family. And, 10, 15, 20 years later, he's like, man, I could have taken a job as a backup quarterback. I could have been around all these people, but the fact that they didn't have me as a starter, I got pissed off. He's like, you know how great a backup quarterback job is? You travel around, you hang out with your friends, you sit on the bench. He's like, what? Yeah. But instead, I'm getting paid less to dig holes. Like, he's like, dude, you gotta recognize these opportunities when they're in front of you. And so that was kind of that mentality of, you know what, live every day to the fullest. And the fact that, so you guys, to take a second on this, I didn't know what to expect. Because racers, right, you get reputations of being in the moment. And it's really, really difficult because you don't know how people are. Like, most racers I get along with great. Like, I couldn't stand Ricky Carmichael. We were on Team Suzuki, and I wasn't even allowed at the Suzuki test track while he was at the test track. Like, that's how much we didn't get along. And the racers are all, and we all want to win, and we'll do anything to win. But what was really cool was seeing, because you have a legacy in rallycross, and obviously your family and everything, and there's a lot of bad blood from different people in the best ways, because that's what racing is. That's what makes it so great. But being friends with most of the people that were your opponents first, I had a different perspective on what you guys were going to bring. I needed you there. I was talking to Red Bull, and Matthias was a good friend. He kind of took me under his wing when I was just starting in 2003, 4, 5, about how to drive, and always, like Scott Speed, calling it like it was and being like, you have no fundamentals. Yeah, you can put your right foot to the floor, but like, come on, like learn some
There's some
shit,
work
man.
to do.
Yeah. So what was really cool was when Matthias is like, you have to bring Timmy. He's like, dude, seriously, he's like, at the time, it was a while ago, like you were on the top of your game, but also like up and coming. He's like, so like we went and pushed Red Bull so hard to get like, and Red Bull's like, I don't even know what is Nitrocross. You're going to kill our guys. Like, this looks horrible, but like, okay. So thank you for agreeing to come over, all that stuff. And then Kevin the next year coming over and also winning. Thanks. But the coolest part was the second you guys got there, when there was a battle, like you're saying, the first thing, because they were going to disqualify me 100%. And I was trying to push you through. I was like, I don't know why you're slowing down so much, but if I can push him a little bit, I can get inside him on the next corner. But with a flat front tire, like that little push was destroyed your whole car.
Yeah, it's a little push, and then it kind of dug into the ground or whatever. But we had
the fact that you went straight to the stewards and were like, hey, I had a flat tire, don't disqualify him. And the fact that you came over and were stoked on the race that we had, you could have known that you had a flat tire and been like, and just said, which a lot of people would have said, oh, he pushed me into the corner, like pushed me right through. No one would have known the difference. I'm just saying, like, and if it was most of the time in the competition.
It wasn't the smartest thing to do probably, but I just came out the car and that was like the best race of my life. Like, I don't know, just had the massive smile on my face. And then we had to spend all night between tying the car to a container and the forklift truck in the other end, trying to pull it straight so we could drive the next day. But
my bad.
It was the best.
But that mentality of, I want to have fun in my car, I want to race people that, because it was just interesting, like using different lines, and we tried to build the tracks like that, but it never worked. Not never, but I wanted to get it paved and concreted so that the lines wouldn't come in. So if you look at, sorry to get off on a complete different tangent, but anyway, thank you guys for being so cool, for coming over and helping support Rallycross, for helping build the sport. Like, it was such an honor and a privilege, not to keep going back and forth on this, but you guys made Nitrocross. Racing in the World Championship and racing Nitrocross at the same time, it gave us the credibility that we needed to actually kind of be on any kind of map. So thank you.
Do you know that year I lost both Nitro Rallycross and the World Championship by a single point. One more point in each championship, and I would have been world champion and Nitrocross champion. But it was a great year overall.
And you had and you had penalties in both.
Yeah. It was
which
like penalties.
Really sucked.
No, like sucked,
but you technically won both.
But also technically, I should have had a penalty the first time I won it, when I completely took out Scott in the third corner. I was like, absolutely killed him, but got away with it somehow. So
I did the same thing to my teammate, and so Scott, sorry, you were on the wrong end of that stick a couple times.
Scott never won any.
Maybe we need to get him on here to see his side of the story here next time.
Yeah,
probably not a good idea.
He will never forgive me for all the times we had. I think I pushed him one too many times, or two or three too many times. Anyway,
but Scott's there to win. Scott's was the greatest teammate I could. Without Scott, I wouldn't have been even in competition with you guys. He's just very black and white, and he's right most of the time. He's like, you have to do this. You have to do this. Like, why aren't you doing it? Like, it just doesn't compute to Scott how my brain works. But what was cool was Scott was awesome on the pavement, obviously, and anything like, so he was a half second faster than me on this side of the track, and I was a half second faster than him on this side of the track. So I couldn't make the full half of a second there, but I could see what he was doing. and he couldn't maybe make the full on the jumps, but he could see what I was doing, and we both elevated. Like when I had Connor Martell as a teammate, we both come from motocross. Our lap times would not fluctuate in qualifying by more than 1/10 of a second anywhere on the track. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, great. Like, where can we do better? You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
it's
consistent,
like
but that's the beauty
a-
of rallycross, isn't it? It's just you get two worlds combined into one, or three worlds combined into one, and you can never be perfect, but it's always like you can strive to be perfect on gravel, you can strive to be perfect on tarmac, and jumping, the ultimate distance without, damaging yourself or the car. But to get everything right on three different difficult parts, that's the beauty of this sport, I think.
And
Yeah.
I'm going to get off on a tangent real quick. So, Kevin, you taught me something that I've never experienced before. I set myself up in the last corner exactly where I wanted to be, and you still passed me from the outside. And I'm going to explain this real quick for the cheap seats. I've never had someone that could control the race from the outside. I learned so much about racecraft. Everyone's like, with you guys coming over, and everyone's like, why did you give him the inside? I'm like, I didn't give him the inside. I'm like, he was on my outside. I didn't want him to high-low, so I slowed down a little bit. He knew I was slowing down, so he took the front of his car, and right when I was going to turn, he intentionally hit the outside of the right rear as I'm turning left with the front on the brake, so his front didn't move, straightened my car up, and then dove to the inside. I'm like, I had him exactly where I wanted to be, and I didn't know that that's where he wanted to be too. so it's like, I've never had so many ways that I thought I was playing freaking checkers and you guys were playing chess the whole time. But I finally, at the end, I started to figure out some of the
you were
different
figuring
ways.
out very quickly. It was always, if you had TP behind you, you were like, I don't know where he's gonna be. He could be anywhere. He could be over me. He could just come flying over. You never know. It could just be, and that was the most difficult thing to defend from you, because you weren't afraid to take a different, line or anything. You
And
always
also,
thought outside the book.
I built the track, so that is a little bit of a, but so you guys didn't get to do, so we got to build a track. Unfortunately, we had just so much rain and dust and it just turned into a fiasco. But on practice, right? Everyone drove this inside line all the way around. We had a track that was like a big RC car track, huge bank turns. We were supposed to get it concreted, paved. Some things didn't work out, but at the end of the day, everyone's like, this is such a one-line track. So I go out in qualifying intentionally. And I think I had one corner on the track that I took the same line that everyone else was taking, because during qualifying, the whole track was prepped. So there was no like line that came in or whatever. And I only crossed the main line that everyone said is the only line you can take. I was everywhere. I qualified P1 over Fraz, was so pissed off. But
nice.
But as everyone drives and everyone drives the same line, they're like, it does become one line because the dust gets put on the outside and no one uses that. And everyone's on this one little, I'm like, oh, this track, there's so much stuff out there. But no, I'm like, and why wouldn't you use the fun stuff? Like, if it's exactly the same speed on lap one, why isn't the blue groove all the way up top where you're just backing it in? So my brain was just, did not understand rally brain, but maybe one day.
I mean, if we want to just wrap up the episode here, we could chat to you for hours, TP. It's so awesome. What is next for you? What's next racing? What's next in life? What is your current goal moving forward, and what is taking up your time?
So I'm still gone. I'm home maybe 2 days a week. On average, some days but I have probably 4 weekends a year that I'm not racing. And on those weekends, it's good because we get to go with the kids to their events. But my goal, and I laughed at YouTubers. I'm like, that's so dumb. Like, what do you guys even do? But I'm surrounding myself with sponsors now that want to utilize Pastranaland. Sorry for using my name in third person, but this area right here. And we've taken it from the mecca of the best in the world doing stuff that's impossible. And there's still like Aaron Wills Fotheringham is down there right now. We have Chris Meek, who's ready. We're just doing a Nitrocross track that I built in the backyard. We just got a water truck out there right now. They're out. So my goal is to be home with my family as much as possible. My wife goes, hey, I want to kind of move back to California, or at least be more there. She's like, it's hot in the summer here. It rains every day here. It's freezing in the winter. She's like, I can't skate. I'm like, okay, so what you're saying is we need an indoor air conditioned and heated venue. Got it. You know, so now, I mean, like
Sorted.
Tony Hawk's coming over next weekend. Like it's pretty cool to be
Awesome.
able to have a place now that Lindsay's like, I have my area. We got a pump track and we got like, so the, you know, the pit bike track where all the kids ride, you know, it gets dusty, it gets blue grooved and hard packed, and it's just not as much fun, or it gets muddy. So we astroturfed the entire pit bike track. So now the kids track is exactly the same every day. And whenever my kids want to bring their friends over, it's like, and you fall on astroturf and it's got like, you know, this much rubber foam kind of underneath. So yeah, it still hurts, but it's not blue groove, it's not concrete. So the goal, for the long answer on your question, is to make this area as fun and as safe as absolutely possible, so that when Can-Am goes, hey, we want to shoot a commercial, come on over, we're shooting it here. When Black
Awesome.
Rifle says we want to have some veterans over, we'll do it here. And even, you know, still friends with Red Bull, still on the kind of the friends program, even though I have completely conflicting sponsors. Like, it's been cool to be able to build this group where we have so many friends and so many people that we can help. If we need to do something, like Aaron Wheels Fotheringham is out there trying a world's first, something that's never been done, because we have the landings and the takeoffs and the welding capabilities. We can build anything, we can do anything, we can do it safer here. It's still dangerous as all hell. We can do it safer here than pretty much anywhere in the world. And if I could just stay
Just the
home more,
world's coolest playground. Would you call it that?
that was a much simpler way to say it, yeah. But I want to stay home more, and I'm trying to work on that.
Yeah, but it's awesome. Like you can live your dream through, you know, living at home and just pushing yourself to the ultimate, but being at home enjoying it. And I think that's the beauty of it, isn't it? That you have now what you love the most. You can do it as crazy as you want with people around you that you love, and like I said, you have an unbelievable team around you, and you can be with your kids, with your family, at home, living your dream. It sounds like the Travis Pastrana ultimate retirement plan, doesn't it?
Nitro Circus was the I want to travel the world with my friends plan, and the Channel 199 is I want to stay at home with my family plan. 100%.
Both
You guys got to bring the families over. We got some good
100%.
stuff. So
it looks so much fun there. Like every time you post whatever, it's like he's just at home in his backyard doing this crazy thing, whatever it is this time, backflips or big jumps or whatever. Yeah, you're living the dream,
been
man.
a fun ride. Trying
Thanks
to.
for
And you guys as well. It's been inspiring watching you guys drive, and just I'm definitely jealous. You know, you guys going over there and all the battles I've been seeing. It looks like the tracks are actually really, really fun. Still obviously chaotic because, you know, all the drivers are all still, including myself if I was over there. Probably the biggest one right here, but yes.
Yeah, we're all race car in this
Yeah.
in this room right now.
Let's make sure we get together on a track real soon. And well, I mean, we're both coming out to Miami in November. Maybe we should make it a little bit longer to come see you, man.
If you guys have a chance to bring the families over, it's fun up here. So
Awesome.
It'll be awesome. Thank
Love
you
to have
so
you guys.
much for thank you so much for joining. If you listen to this whole episode, why don't you just give it a like, subscribe, all that. Thank you so much, Travis, for joining.